Hey, everyone, it's Jennifer with DP Addiction Adventures. I am so glad that you guys are here. It's Friday. We're gonna have some fun tonight. Yes, we are. I didn't realize I love my husband's shirt. I threw on a t-shirt, just a random one from the laundry basket, and it actually was really warm tonight. Went to a soccer game. My daughter was playing, and I threw on a nice sweatshirt over it. And then I realized it was really warm, so I took the sweatshirt off, and I realized, oh, I probably should have picked a normal t-shirt, but who knows? I'll just advertise. I got this at like a counseling conference, and it says, uh, for, what's it say? Something about like for life marriages, something like that. Hey, Mudnuts, I am so glad that you are here. Hey, Sarah, good evening to you too. Billy, welcome. Hi, Robin, I'm so glad that you're here as well. And Felicia, welcome. Yes, yes. I was really excited. I opened this up without you guys, only to grab my 880 or 890 ABs that I was ordering, and I can't wait to dive in and show you what else I purchased for my waves of healing. I'm right down here in this jar area. Hey, Felicia, good to see you. I'm so glad that you're here. Hey, April, welcome, welcome. Emma, hey, Mary, hey, Chaotic. Everyone's here tonight. So glad you're here. So, oh, I got a little ducky. Look at that. It's a little ducky. Tina from DP with Sparkles will be on later tonight. Ends up being 11:30 p.m. my time, but I think she's going to talk about these little ducks because Rebecca, I did not know about the duck song, but she introduced me to the duck song. And in the duck song, the duck goes and asks if you got any grapes. And it's hysterical. I got really excited, showed my daughter the YouTube video, and she's like, oh yeah, I already knew about that. Like, seriously, where have I been? You need to share with me these viral videos. Absolutely. Hey, Dawn, welcome. Hey, little Miss Pris, it's been a while. I'm so glad you're here. All right, so I got 3848 ABs. I got some more crystals because I've been using a bunch of my 550 crystals, but I'm not happy with how it's turning out. Not because of the crystals themselves, but because of the style of the painting. It's not matching up, but I'm too lazy to take it all out. I'm using a lot of the 518 crystals. I bought the 154 crystals because I just love this deep, dark burgundy color. And then I bought the 518 crystal jellies. And most of these crystals, and I also got the 518 AB crystal. I didn't know which one I would like better for this painting. Then I got the 3808 crystal because that's in this painting as well. And then I had to buy a bunch of sparklers. So I got teal. I already had this in the normal, but I got it for sparklers for squares. I've been using a lot of this up because this is what's going in as the jar. And then I liked the green, but I needed it in sparklers for squares because green's my favorite color. And then I liked the fire. And then this, oh my goodness, Aurora Spring. Look at that. It's like glitter. It is so pretty. And then oops, I shook the computer on you. And then I've been using a lot of fairy dust. So I took that. And then I'm going to be using a lot of the bubbles. So I got another thing of bubbles. So that's my little unboxing for DP with sparklers. Now, I don't know how they fit all of these bags in here because it's 9 o'clock. That means it's time for my son to have his meltdown. So we will see how long he lasts before he gets escorted upstairs. Robin Pennington, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Yes, obsessed with sparklers, and I'm loading them up in my sparkler containers. So exciting. Let's see. All right, so that's what I'm working on, and I've really, really enjoyed this painting a lot. I've been posting on Instagram what it looks like. Now, you guys are sitting right on top of the painting, so it's going to be hard for me to show you live, but I did take, excuse me, I did take a couple photos. So this is what it's looking like right now. And you can see yourselves in the mirror. So it's turning out really nice. Oh, hey, Lisa. He wanted to say hello to his Aunt Lisa. He absolutely adores his lobster that Aunt Lisa got him. He was playing with it as we were doing our prayer time. So he was having a lot of fun playing with his lobster. I think so. Maybe I'll show you guys. I think I should show you, only if you guys are okay if I move the computer on you, because you are literally sitting on top of it. All right, this I got from Nyx Notions. It's her shrimp boat. Love the size, love the color. I think it's called Dragon Scale. Let's see. I gotta move everything off. I've been really messy with this one. Isn't he, Sarah? He's absolutely adorable. Lisa, I still, if you could message me, I still have your dishcloth here. I cannot find your address anywhere. I thought I took a picture and put it in my phone from the box you sent me, but I need to send you this normally small dish rag. I have a couple other things in a box for you. Okay. All right, I'm going to turn the light pad off. Okay, get ready. I'm moving the computer. You guys were sitting right on it. Okay. So, this I'm professional, I promise. Where are my scissors? Where are my scissors? I don't know where they're at. Let me see if I can fold this and use one of my 8 million cover minders to hold it down for you guys. I know, exciting, huh? Okay. What do you guys think, huh? I can't see you. I can't see you. But I think it's coming along beautifully. And I'm adding lots and lots of ABs and sparklers and bubbles. So many fun things. Hey, Tima! Yes, I'm enjoying it. It is a 50 by 80, so it's pretty big. I'm gonna stand up so I can see you guys. It's pretty big. And then I'm gonna turn on the light that I keep forgetting to turn on. Where are you, light? There we go. So, yes. Here, you can't tell, get up close. I did metallics in her dress. And then in the stars, I did sparklers. And then I did ABs over here with the green. And then I did the purple crystals. This is where I did the purple crystal. And I don't know how much I'm loving it, but I think it's turning out beautifully. Absolutely gorgeous. So this is from Treasure Studios. If you want to go check out and get one yourself, it's called Waves of Healing. And you could do GP Gen 15 and you will get 15% off. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm loving the colors too. Absolutely loving it and having a lot of fun blinging it out. And the reason I haven't used the release papers are because my release papers are somewhere in this mess and I can't find them. I have probably 80 not sets, but like 80 pages of release papers from Crafts with Crashly that are absolutely gorgeous. I need to find them. So that is why. That is why. It is beautiful. And Tima, I just opened my little package that I bought from you that will be going towards this piece. Let's see here. Oh, I think I need to add one more sparkler there. One more sparkler. All right, so let's talk about this week. Let's talk about this week. And then we're going to talk about grief. I know, exciting topic for a Friday night, but I thought it was fitting. Oh goodness, I don't know, little Miss Priss. Oh, is Lizzie Falcon still with them? I'm not sure. I'll have to double check. But I have a bunch of her stuff. I do know there was a couple votes for Lizzie Falcon on DAC. So who knows? Who knows? Hi Irene, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I hope you got your coffee and you're ready to stay awake. This week's been interesting. I actually, little man is still not sleeping through the night. And so this week I took some PTO in the middle of the day and came home and took a 2-hour nap just so that I could make it through the week. My daughter had a soccer game Tuesday evening. I, though, had to work. So little man and my husband went, and he was in his like little snowsuit because it was so cold, little blue mushroom, blue marshmallow. But they ended up mercying a week ago the other team. They won 8-zip, and so the game ended early. Then Tuesday night, I was working and I finished work and I came home and I was like, oh, there's still like 30 minutes left of their game, plus they have to drive home. So it's roughly an hour I could lay down and get a little nap in. And I get a text from my husband that our team had scored 8 points again, and the game ended up being mercied. And so they were on their way home. And I was like, no, there goes my nap. So they won that. And then tonight they mercied again. They won 8-zip again. And I think my daughter, who, oh, don't worry about it, little Miss Chris. I am an expert at reading typos. So we watched the game, and I think my daughter, who's the goalie, she touched the ball maybe 5 times total. And most of that was because I think she just wanted to touch the ball. So she ran out and grabbed it and then threw the ball. Yes, so that's what's going on in that area. It's kind of sad. Next week, I think it's going to be the last week that I'm carpooling with my nephew. He's a senior. We've been picking him up almost every morning this year. And I still remember like being at the hospital when he was born. And I'm like, I'm getting so old. Do you guys feel old? Like, I used to laugh and joke with my mom, like, how does it feel to have a 20-year-old daughter? How does it feel to have a 30-year-old daughter? And I just stopped after that because I'm like, I feel old. I feel old. So yes. Um, yeah, May is just finally going okay. Like we're getting better weather, work is slowing down a little bit, and so I have a lot of hope for May. Um, all of you cat lovers, I'm very sorry. Please do not thumbs down. I appreciate cats. My in-laws had a cat. My brother and sister-in-law have a cat. I am not a cat hater. One of my besties, two of my besties have cats, but our next door neighbors has a cat hanging around their house. And it's like, it looks like it's between a kitten and an adult. It's about this big, not around, but like lengthwise. And the cat has been coming and sleeping under my husband's car in the driveway or laying under the tree out in front of our big picture window. And our dog is going berserk. And it's very hard to have telehealth conversations and work from home when your dog's going berserk or anything like that. And so I'm how do we keep the cat away? And the cat like runs into our backyard. I think the cat's pooping all through our backyard, which is driving our dog crazy because she goes out there and she sniffs and sniffs and sniffs more than she's done in the past. And just really, I don't know, it's driving me nuts. So I have to figure out how in the world to keep this cat away. It's not that I hate cats. I don't have a cat, and there's a reason I don't have a cat. So please, little kitty, stay over on your side. We don't have any food for you. We just have a big, annoying, loud dog. And we have an 8-month-old that likes to screech a lot. And so why don't you stay safe over at the neighbors? That's, we'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. All right. So, dip in time, cayenne pepper. Well, I have a lot of cayenne pepper. Maybe we'll do that. Who knows? That'll probably scare away my dog's friends, the two squirrels. There is a drill on the bottom of my cup. Or maybe it's just a crumb. Who knows? You can't, they do what they want unless your neighbor. Yeah, my neighbor is useless. Useless. They don't like citrus. I use orange peels, leave them where he's hanging out. Okay, I can try that. Won't that bring ants though? Hey, Mom and Dad. Hey, Diamond Queen. Welcome, welcome. Haven't seen you in a while. I hope all is well. Hose a few times. Oh, hi, Gail. Good to see you. Spray the kitty with the water. I don't know. I don't want to drench the poor cat. I just don't want it on my property. And I'm not like, if it's a stray cat or something, I understand it'll move on, but this is not a stray cat. This is the neighbor's cat, which means it's going to make itself a little home. All right. I mentally have no idea where I put my shrimp boat tray. My shrimp boat tray. Hey, loving sparkles. Good to see you. Oh, I'm sorry that you're injured. I'm sorry. Okay, so I have been doing a series called hashtag I am enough 2023. And what I'm trying to do is things that you have voted on. I've been picking as a trauma therapist, I've been picking different topics and talking about those topics. So if you are new here tonight or you haven't been listening for a while, go back and watch. they're about 20 to 30 minutes in is when we start talking about it. And oh, Dad bought a squirt gun for the squirrels. Hey, Cece Angel, good to see you. And so tonight I thought we could talk about grief. It was one of the topics. And I found grief fitting because grief, like I said in the subject, is more than just sadness and it's more than just death. Many people think of grief as somebody who passed away. Yes, that leaves a hole in your heart, a void. But grief is also life loss. So, loss of respect, loss of a job, loss of health, loss of innocence, loss of a dream, loss of relationships, loss of financial stability. And the list just goes on and on and on and on. And so, how do we work through those things that we lose? How do we, I don't like to use the word like overcome, but I like to use the word like work through it. Hey, Tammy, good to see you. Thank you for coming in. And so, there's also a lot of myths. I was talking to a client today, and her husband was killed in front of her and her two young daughters. And she's a young single mom now, and she's been having a really difficult time because she truly loved this man. And so today we were just talking about, she was asking, like, when is this sharp pain going to go away? And so we talked about how there's a myth that time heals all wounds. And the reason it's a myth is because it's not time that heals it. It's, hey, Jenny, good to see you. So that's the myth. It's not time that heals pain. What time does is gives us growth. It allows us to learn ways to accept things, learn how to adapt, learn how to build support systems around us, and learn how to cope with the loss that we had. And in doing that, the pain decreases. Now you're still going to get like waves of pain. That's why I love this like waves of healing. It's there's also like waves of pain and waves of loss. Somebody once told me it was like grief is like a window that gets thrown open and this freezing cold air hits you out of nowhere. And so you can be going along on your day and this grief just comes. And now you have to figure out how are you going to work the rest of the day because now it's overwhelmed you. How are you going to refocus? How are you going to parent? How are you going to be a supportive friend when you're dying inside? And so, um, so yeah, so we were talking today about like how to look at grief because there's that misperception that time heals the pain. And so what are the things that we can do to help us adapt in our grief? So the first thing is understanding the myths. So time is a myth. There's the avoidance, don't like push through it. You'll overcome it, fill it with something else. Some people, like if your dog dies, like, well, just get another dog. I had a lot of people who, when I lost babies, would say, well, at least you had a child. At least you knew how to carry, you knew what it felt like to carry a child. And so, I mean, there's just like hurtful things, right? Dip in time, like get over it. Like, what are some things in chat? If you want to talk, what are some things that people have said to you in your grief that you just are like, you don't understand? Like, how insensitive can somebody be? But the reverse side is that person probably hasn't experienced what you've gone through or what you're currently going through and feels awkward and feels they just grasp on to anything. And in our grief, we many times don't want advice. We just want support. And so how can we give support and how can we accept support? Um, so handling grief, what you're going to look at is you're going to look at how are you handling grief? So are you having depressive symptoms? Are you wanting to avoid people? Are you wanting to sleep through things? Are you somebody who's numb and just is not feeling pain? Are you the person who um, is a woe is me, everything in the world is going wrong, has a list, and that list just keeps repeating itself. And so the world is basically proving to you that it sucks, right? Um, and so, like, how does your personality, how does your soul exude grief? Okay. And then you're going to personalize your support system around that grief. So if you're somebody with depressive symptoms and all you want to do is sleep it off, but the truth is you're never going to sleep it off. So, sorry, it keeps falling out of my ear. Um, and so what are some things, what are some goals that you can set for yourself that isn't just sleep, right? So we talked about depression last week. So maybe a goal is to text one friend today and say, hey, thinking of you, or hey, having a rough day. Maybe it's getting up and showering. Maybe it's um, reading through Instagram, Tima's funny pictures that she puts on. Um, and so that's like if you're having the depressive symptoms. If you're having the avoidance or anger, um, those kind of things, okay, what are some things that you feel safe not avoiding? Um, so maybe building a trust circle so that you acknowledge that there might be one or two people in your life that you trust and that you can talk to and that you can say, hey, look, I'm really avoiding this situation. And I don't want you to push me. I don't want you to tell me what to do, but would you just please check on me? Um, Maybe you're the type of person that you're crying all the time. So, what are some things that bring used to bring you joy? So maybe going into a florist and smelling the flowers. Maybe going to a movie. Maybe buying your favorite drink at Starbucks. So there are just things if you feel like you're crying all the time, the world is out to get you. How can you help remind yourself that even though you're thinking the world is attempting to prove that it's going to get you, how can you remind yourself that it's not out to get you? Um, so those are just some simple things without getting too complex. Again, you're looking at your character, you're looking how you exhibit grief, and then what you're doing is combating that grief gently. You're not, and then you're going to honor that grief. You're going to say, yes, this hurts. Yes, of course I'm crying. Or yes, of course I'm angry and I want to throw a cup across the room. Um, we have an axe throwing place north of here. If you want to throw a cup across the room, hey, let's go out with a friend and throw the axe and see, not the ex, like the ex-husband, the axe, A-X-E. Um, or screaming into a pillow or something to let some of that energy, that negative energy out. Excuse me. Another thing that I've talked about many times is people care about your grief when it first happens. All right. So I'm going to read through some of the chat and then I'm going to talk about this. All right. Because you guys are doing some great things in chat. All right. All right. So we were asking the question, like, what do other people say that are insensitive? So Mickey says, you can always get another cat. There are plenty of men out there. Don't worry, you'll be fine, and so much more. Crashly says, when I bawled my eyes out when the kittens died, someone said to me, they're just cats. I feel like that hurt me more than the loss itself. Yeah. Diamond Queen says, I asked my fiance, does losing my dad ever get easier? And he told me no, it doesn't. But he lost his dad in 2001. Yeah. It's some people disappear completely or are there initially and then gone. Yeah, dip in time, hold that thought. That's where we're going to go next. We should never belittle anyone's grief, regardless of what they're grieving about. Exactly, because the feelings are real and the feelings are there. You never get over it, but you do get through it. Doesn't mean the loss doesn't still hurt, right, Mickey? Are there other people or animals that are important in your life? I also have trouble knowing what to say when people I love agree. I tend to avoid it because I'm terrified I'd say something wrong. You know, Crashly, that's something like you can just be honest with the person. You can just say to them, like, I see that you're in pain and that you're going through some serious emotions that hurt. And I just want you to know I care about you. So let me know how I can support you. And they'll probably say, I don't know yet, or I'll let you know, those kind of things. But you could just be honest, what you see, and then you could you can say, I don't know what to say. And they're like, it's okay. There's nothing to say. There's not a magic phrase. There's only being there. Can't have all those symptoms at different times. Yep, Rhonda, we're going to get to that too. I was crying the other day because I missed my dad, and that's when I asked my fiance, does it get easier? And Diamond Queen, that's what we're talking about is time doesn't make it easier. It's how do we look at the grief? Because if we're just expecting time to make it easier, that's not going to help. We have to actually put coping skills into our life. We have to actually address, okay, I'm in pain right now because I miss my dad. So there's a part of you that is this little girl inside that's just hurting and carrying all this. So can we look at that part and can we say, we're honoring this grief. We hear you, we see you, and we're going to be here to support you. And the more we honor that grief, now not stuck in it. There's two things, but if we honor it and we say, this is real, this is happening. I hear myself, I hear my heart, I respect myself, I care about myself. So now what can I do to help myself feel supported, to help that little girl or that little boy or that little person in me who's crying and upset and in pain because they're holding all the grief? Because if you think about it, we all have these different parts of ourselves that we compartmentalize, and you can actually see this in your life. Maybe you're exhausted like I am, but you put on, like we call it putting on our hats or our big girl pants. And I put on my work hat, like I have to go and I have to work, or I put on my mom hat, I have to do this. But inside, I'm so tired and I'm so sad and I'm so like, I wish I'm just looking for a bed. And so there's different parts of me inside. And so there is part of us that's grieving. And then there's part of us that needs to go to work. And then there's part of us that loves animals. And there's part of us that pays the bills and is logical and thinking. And then there's a creative part of us and all these different character qualities that we have. And so we need to honor and support the part that's grieving. And when we do that and we listen and we support and we honor, and then we start to like diamond paint and help that anger and that grief come out, or watercolor, or macrame, or play a sport, or read a book, or garden, or sing in a choir, or go for a jog, or ride a bike, or walk the dog, and we start doing these things, or people who really need a nap, take a nap. We start honoring ourselves. The pain is still there, but it's not going to be overwhelming. No longer does the pain control us. We're just acknowledging it, and now we have control when the pain comes. Like he says, when I get depressed, I tend to cocoon, but if I talk to Rebecca, I'm almost always out of it, right? Chaotic said, I was told after my oldest son passed that at least I have a lot of kids, and now it's time to put my attention on them, and I'd probably get over it fast because of that. Oh, I'm so sorry, Chaotic. That was not cool. I am so sorry. Oh. Dippin' Time says she bought water balloons to fill and throw. Sleep is 100% go-to coping mechanism. Yep, it's not a bad thing. It's just not letting it control you. Exactly, Dippin' Time. I want to be there for my friend or family who's hurting, but that kind of support just doesn't come naturally. It's okay. Mary says she's been widowed for 2.5 years and the pain is still there, but I've learned to live with it. I accept the ways and go forward because there are still ways of grief. I belong to a widow group. Mary, thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing. Susan said she knows how we feel. Dippin' Time says, saying something like what you just shared is what I know and I need to hear sometimes. Billy said, that's the same. My dog died a couple months ago and few people said it's only a dog. Oh, Billy, I'm so sorry. Exactly, Mary. Sometimes a hug or just listening helps. My mom says, I lost my mom over 30 years ago and there are days I still grieve her loss. Exactly. I also tend to fill my time with business so I don't have to deal with grief. And Jenny, you bring up a good point because many times we distract. And one of the things I talk about with my clients is there's two levels of healing. One is stabilization, and one is healing the root of what's going on. And healing can be misinterpreted because healing doesn't mean lack of feelings. Healing means understanding yourself, having those coping skills, and being safe with what you feel. And, if you think about healing, scar tissue heals, and it's tougher tissue and tougher because the skin is learning and the muscles are learning that the rip or the tear or the cut was dangerous. And so it's going to come together harder and stronger. If our bone breaks and we have good bone, like calcium, the bone actually grows stronger together, not weaker. And so, again, understanding yourself, understanding you're not going to get over it. You need to work through it, understand it, accept it, acknowledge it, adapt with it. Understand there's going to be days that you're going to need to sleep. So allow yourself to sleep. But if you start, like Mickey was saying, you start to find yourself cocooning, then that's a red flag. And you go, okay, I'm kind of going further down the hill than I want. So I'm going to reach out to my support system and allow my support system to help me not cocoon, but self-care. That makes sense. Susan says, my grief is regret divorcing my husband because losing everything and now alone. Yeah, Susan, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Um, Dip in Time says, feeling grief. I feel so alone, even when there are people around. Yeah, Susan, that's the tip of it, the beginning of losses. I'm so sorry, Susan. And Dip in Time is saying, yeah, we're here. We're holding a space for you. Grief is like a slinky. You have to go through it, go around it. Tammy says, we lost my little sister 5 years ago. We all grieve differently, but my sister gets upset because she claims to this day I don't understand her grief. But it seems it's all about her grief, right, Tammy? I'm so sorry. Right? We all grieve differently. You know, some people, because if you think about the parts, that kind of was my aha moment because some of us, we have this management part that can hold it together. And so it looks like we're not grieving. And in reality, we're grieving sometimes even more intense because we're holding it in. But as I was saying with my clients, um, there's the stabilization and then there's the healing. So the stabilization is like distraction, maybe working more, maybe being further away from the grief. Um, it's kind of like putting a band-aid on a wound. It's stabilizing it. So you're going to learn coping skills and mindfulness and getting rest and sleep and exercise, and you're going to do that surface stuff. All right? You're going to stabilize yourself. But the healing is where you get into those deep emotions that you share in that trust circle, either with a therapist, with your doctor, with a close family member or close friend. Um, so those are the two levels. So if you find yourself like still stuck in that stabilization and it's not getting better, there's a reason because you haven't gone to the other level of healing. Diamond Queen says the hardest part is I was just getting the relationship that I always wanted with him. And I guess that's what makes it harder to deal with the loss, right? Exactly. Because not only is it, death loss, but you lost that dream you had of that relationship. You lost that potential. You lost a future with him. So there's a lot of complex losses tied into one. Sometimes saying to the hurting person that you know that there are no words that are going to bring them comfort right now, but you are there for them and you care about them. Yeah, exactly. Each person grieves different, and it can be difficult for others to see or understand. Mickey says, when my mom died, I lost my best friend. We talked every day. It took a long time to get over the shock of not having her. I miss our fights, right, Mickey? Exactly. Mickey, you read my mind. Sometimes distraction works, but it's only a temporary measure. Exactly. And Sue, yep, grief is not linear. It goes up and down and all around. Definitely. It's kind of chaotic. Says I keep myself super busy. I don't do quiet time very often. I don't sleep much because too much thinking once. Yeah, you can't turn it off. And that's interesting. I turned off the radio the other day because I'm like, I wonder what it would feel like just to not have everything going on. And it was scary. I like had to turn the radio back on. Losing my mom made me more aware of how important it is to make every moment count for something good. Hmm. Yep. Mickey. That's what sleeping pills are for. Oh, Mickey, you're funny. Oh, Dip in Time says, only discovered recently, my daughter thought it was her fault I experienced the miscarriage. I felt so bad. I didn't know it at the time. Spent time chatting. Yeah. So grief is very complex and we don't give it a lot of focus. And I was talking earlier and you guys brought up some good points is in our grief, whether it's an animal loss, whether it's a person loss, whether it's a job loss, whether it's health loss or financial loss, whatever we're going through, um, it and then there and now, people are there like when it first happens. And so you have that support system. But as life continues, people start to forget. But you never forget. You never forget the loss of your child or the loss of your animal or the fact that you gave everything to a job and nobody cared, or you worked so hard for your finances and now what's happening. And so it just then it's lonely. And then if you bring it up, I know myself, I'm like, well, I'm still grieving. I still grieve the loss of, I mean, our daughter, Willow. And I can barely look at her picture. I could barely say her name still. Um, I can barely touch that subject because the pain is so real. But yet, that was almost 2 years ago. And not many people are there. And it's not that they don't understand. Like, I'm sure if I brought it up, I'm having a difficult day or I'm struggling with this, my trust circle, my close friends, my close family, my close loved ones, they would be there in an instant, in that day, in that moment. But it's still lonely when you're grieving, right? Yeah. So, there's no way to fix grief. There's no magic solution. But you guys are doing amazing and supporting each other and being real and being honest. And crafting is a great way to release what's inside. Bringing yourself into a chat, being with community, being honest with self, um, doing something that brings you joy. And the phrase fake it till you make it has a little, like, I don't like to use it often because I don't want people just to think I'm going to be fake the rest of my life. But there is some truth to it because if you sit down and you start to craft, even though you don't feel like it, and you're able to like stay with it, then by the time you're done crafting, you might have this sense of relief or release. Um, if you say, okay, I'm gonna go to dinner with my friend, even though I really don't feel like it, halfway through the dinner, you might realize, oh, the person laughing that I'm hearing is myself. And so there is a little truth of fake it till you make it because you're taking the logic part of your brain, you're overriding the feelings of wanting to avoid, and the feeling brain kind of comes along with it after a while. But again, I don't like to do that often because it can be a slippery slope of being apathetic to life. So take that with a grain of salt. So that's my grief soapbox right now. Um, More of just encouragement, a little bit of psychoeducation to let you know that you're not alone, that what you're feeling is normal, normalization, some of the ways that you worked through your grief, amazing and excellent, giving you space in the chat to know that you're not alone. Um, Carolyn says, grief changes as you change. My mother died when I was 13, and I grieved the way I knew then as a 13-year-old, but I've gone through life. I've grieved that she wasn't a part of it. Right? That is so true. Those are very wise words. Very wise words. Diamond Queen says, I lost my grandpa 19 years ago and it still feels like yesterday. It's still very hard at times. He was like a father to me. We were very close. Took me 2 years to get through the shock of loss. So Diamond Queen, it sounds like there may be some work where you've been able to stabilize, but you haven't allowed yourself to go to that next level because it's true. You will have that same pain and that memory and that will come back. But there is hope as we work through things. There's hope that it's not going to be a 24/7 feeling the rest of our lives. So, in grief, if you do find that it's a 24/7 feeling and it's been a while, it doesn't mean anything's wrong with you. But what it does mean is there might be other ways to look to help you process through some of your grief and some of your emotions, because that part of you is not feeling heard. And so that part is continuously reminding, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. Um, so, yeah. Jenny says, do you have any tips or thoughts for anyone who has gone through excessive amounts of grief, like multiple close family members who have passed? Um, Part of losing so much is not trusting more will come. Because you're looking back and you're saying, I was close to this person, and then I was close to this person, and I was close to this person. And these people continue to be taken from me. Put a cough drop in. I still have my crazy cough. Forgive me. Oh, that's a distorted cough drop. I don't think I trust that one. So the first step I would recommend is assessing your trust level on life. Do you have fear in the current relationships that you have? Do you have fear in getting close to other people? Do you have hesitation in making new relationships? Do you have anger because you're trying to keep somebody away? And so what loss has done is it has stolen from you that sanctuary of safety with the people that you love. And so identifying that and honoring and saying, yes, it was out of my control. Yes, this was taken from me. Yes, this is a loss. Yes, this was stolen from me. This isn't fair. This isn't right. I don't understand it. I may never understand it. And allowing that part of you that's grieving to be heard and to be angry and to be upset and to validate those feelings and those emotions. Because there's this hesitancy, right, to start saying, well, there goes another loss. Like, I should never have attached myself to that person, or I knew that this was going to be taken from me, or, well, of course that person has cancer because I actually started liking that person and trusting that person. Or, of course, that person turned on me and gossiped because why wouldn't that person, because life has taken everything from me. So there becomes this like negativity in us, which this feeds the grief, because not only did you lose the people, you also lost connection, you also lost relationship, you also lost comfort, you lost trust, all of that complex feelings. And so looking at those actual emotions, like, what am I feeling? Am I feeling fear? Am I feeling anger? Am I feeling loneliness? Am I feeling frustration? And then once you identify what you're feeling, how can we honor those feelings? how can we process through them? So maybe with a therapist, maybe with a friend, a pastor, the person you trust. And so then you're going to start, instead of living with feeling, you're going to start connecting your thoughts and your feelings, and then they connect with your behavior. Um, and so that's why the fake it till you make it, if you think about it, the easiest thing to change out of thoughts, feelings, and behavior is your behavior. And so if you go for a walk, if you write a letter to yourself talking about your anger, talking about your fears, if you talk with a friend, if you do crafting, if you allow your mind for small bits of time to not be distracted and to actually think about the grief and think about the negativity in little spurts, right? Not big ones. We're talking about baby steps, like 5 minutes. Um, it will help get to that root. And then you'll be able to start processing through some of those losses. Um, so yeah, I hope I hope that helps a little bit understand what might be going on inside. Um, Diamond Queen, my stepdad is going through a rough time. He lost his brother-in-law, and 10 days later, his sister has been diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. Oh, Diamond Queen, I'm so hard. Sorry for you. There's a lot going on in your life this past like 5 years. You just need a breather, right? You just need time to just be. Time to just be. Tammy said, do you think knowing someone is going to die or unexpectedly death is harder? I don't think one is harder than the other. I think they're different. If someone at least for me, um, if someone unexpectedly dies, like I feel like I was robbed of all the things I could have prepped for. I feel like the world did me a disservice. Um, there's usually a lot of anger because that's like a secondary emotion that's been attached to what the root emotion is. So they're kind of like buddies. When you have anger, there's usually another feeling as well. Um, so I think it's just different. And if there's somebody who I know is going to pass away, like with cancer or older age or Alzheimer's, something like that, I think the grieving process is prolonged. And so when the person does pass away, there's almost a sense of relief because I've had the pain for so long. And so although I'm still grieving and I don't want to see them be gone, um, it's it's just sad all the way around. It's just sad all the way around. It's just different. I'm just babbling. Just consciousness coming out. It's free for all. I hope I'm making sense. I hope I'm making sense. I didn't write notes or anything. I was just letting my natural brain come out. Um, Different times is sometimes I find my writing to myself when I feel better. I can remind myself when feeling worse. Yeah. So there's two different things you can do. You can do something like a gratitude journal where maybe you put some favorite quotes, maybe you put two or three things a day that you love, maybe you write how you're feeling in a good way, all of those things, and then you can go back through and read them. And then there's the opposite. When you're not feeling good, you can get it all out by bullet pointing, writing, scribbling, using red or purple or using colors to dictate what you're feeling to get all of that out. So, and there's something different between writing and typing. So, writing, that actually has a therapeutic connection through your nervous system into your hippocampus in your brain versus typing. So if you're trying to get those things out. Mary said, my husband had cancer and was put on hospice. I was thankful for the time I had to say goodbye. Yeah. Yeah. Um, Jenny said, this was great, Jen. Thank you for doing this and allowing space for all of us to dump our grief. Yep, exactly. I'm here, Jenny. That's what I'm here for. I'm glad you guys are able to have that space. All right, last question. Dip in Time says, any suggestion for those of us who have had a hard time with unhappy emotions support these emotions? Okay, so one thing I talk about a lot is that there's positive and negative emotions, not good and bad emotions. So you might have happy, excited, joyful, exuberant, euphoria, all of these like positive, cheerful, inquisitive, all of these emotions. And then over here, you have negative emotions like anger, fear, frustration, loneliness, hopelessness, helplessness, all of these emotions. But they're all real and they're all what we were created to feel. And so I don't see them as bad or good. I see them as positive and negative. So when we have negative, which is what I'm reading as unhappy emotions, again, we want to look at what is leading to this negative emotion. Like there's something happening, and is it okay to feel that negative emotion, or do we have to change it? If let's say like the cat story I told you at the beginning. I'm really frustrated that there's a cat living on our property and I don't like cats on my property. I like other people's cats, but I don't like cats for me. And so I'm frustrated. Why is my neighbor doing this to me? Now, I know this is kind of a silly example for a grief topic, but so I have this like frustration and I have this anger and all of this kind of stuff, and that's real. And I don't need to get rid of it. I can have that frustration. I mean, it's just going to sit there. Now, I'm not going to let it boil over. I'm not going to feed it, different things like that. But I don't think that frustration is going to go away. And so I accept that I'm frustrated. And that's just going to be how it is until this cat goes back home and finds love there. And so a lot of it has to do with acceptance. So if you have sadness, oh my goodness, see, I'm frustrated at my son right now. He hasn't slept all day. He should be sleeping right now, and I'm exhausted. And so I have my support system, which is you guys understand why he's upset. I have my husband who's taking care of him. I have crafting that I can do once he's asleep. So all of these things that I know are supporting me during this time. Um, so yes, loss of control of my environment. But a lot of it has to do with acceptance of self, not feeling that guilt or shame. Just saying, okay, this is what it is. Now, what can I do about it? So this kind of leads me into my soapbox of never asking why and never asking what if. Instead, asking, how am I going to respond and what can I do about it? And so if you have unhappy emotions, what are you going to do about it and how are you going to respond? Are you going to let those unhappy emotions control you? Or are you going to confide in a friend? Are you going to write them in a journal? Are you going to go for a walk? Are you going to accept that they exist? All of those things. So, if you want more, you can sign up for a session with me and we can dive into it individually. But I wanted to just scratch the surface of grief, let you know that you are not alone and that what you're feeling is normal, how you're feeling it is normal. And I am so glad that you are here and thank you so much for coming tonight. I still have to pick next week's topic. I may do a poll of it, of what topics I have left to talk about. If you are on the hashtag replay, please let me know if there's any topics you would like me to discuss in next week or weeks in the future. Please hashtag I'm Enough 2023 on any of your crafting posts on Instagram or Facebook, just to get the word out that everybody is enough. that we love you, and that the crafting is really what's healing our hearts, and the community around crafting is healing us as well. So I love you guys. Thank you so, so much. Until next time, be blessed.